Coming up on this edition of Power and Politics, the defense rests in Donald Trump's hush money trial, but not before some courtroom fireworks, as it will all soon be up to the jury. And the race for U.S. Senate in the Sunshine State is starting to take shape, as it appears women voters could make the difference. Hello and welcome to another edition of Power and Politics. I'm your host, Frank Cipolla. Power and Politics is a weekly, unbiased look at the top stories affecting the state, with a special emphasis on the psychology behind the decisions and issues that affect our lives. Along those lines, I want to welcome my weekly co-host, Emmy Award-winning political psychologist, Dr. Bart Rossi. Dr. Welcome.
Great to be here again, Frank.
All right. The defense has rested in the hush money trial involving former President Donald Trump. A verdict could come as early as this coming week. The last few days of the trial did include some courtroom antics and a warning from the judge in this case. Okay, so let's tackle what's going on here. The judge at one point had to clear the courtroom. Right. He did not like the demeanor of the defense witness, which was attorney Robert Costello.
That brings up the whole question for me, the psychology of the juror, or the jury, okay? And for me, I'm thinking that the jury is very perplexed as to why Donald Trump did not testify, even though he doesn't have to. And why.
And he said many times he would.
And he said many times that he would. And they had one witness, the defense, who was really quite awful. I don't care which side you're on with regard to this trial. He really looked very bad. And he presented himself terribly, not only to the judge, but with disrespect for the whole courtroom. How does that work? The psychology here affects the jurors. And when they go to deliberate, and I have been an expert witness many times in federal court, it's really important to understand that the jurors are going to take all of this and they're going to absorb it. And they're going to talk about the fact that after all of this, Donald J. Trump did not testify.
All right, well,
it's an issue.
Well, let's discuss the jurors for just a moment. Some people are saying that Robert Costello was a good witness. You're saying that neither one of us are attorneys. So let's put that right there on the table. But he was testy. And you could say, based on the transcript, somewhat disrespectful to the judge. The jurors sitting there watching this give and take, what are they thinking with regard to the conflict there?
Well, the conflict to me as a psychologist meant that Cohen actually looked better.
Michael Cohen.
Michael Cohen, the chief witness, okay, for the prosecution, he actually looked better when they brought in this guy who looked like he was kind of like a mob-tied individual. He did not present himself well in terms of respect for the court, for the jury, for anyone. And that doesn't work well with jurors.
All right, we could see closing arguments on Tuesday, as early as Tuesday, and then it will be up to the jury to decide. Could be a verdict. Who knows after that? The jury can go in any
Now, I think that so far the prosecution has landed its case, but knowing that you have to have 12 jurors, that could be an issue. There could be some that are perplexed and maybe don't want to convict the former president. But I think that the case has landed, and I think it's been fairly strong.
All right. Also in the news this week, they have agreed, the presidential candidates, or the presumptive presidential candidates, the incumbent Joe Biden and, of course, Republican presumptive candidate Donald Trump, have decided on the debate dates.
Right.
I'm a little confused here because I did look back. I think June 27th, which is the first one, is the earliest debate date for a presidential election in the history of presidential elections. Why so early?
Well, first of all, probably because the Biden team wanted that. But I'd like to go back a minute. You're pretty good with numbers, Frank, okay? You're pretty good with numbers. I know you. All right. I'm betting 7-5.
7-5.
Not 10-1, but 7-5. There's no debate.
You think right now there will be no debate?
No debate.
Is that what you're saying?
So let's hold this and we'll replay this.
We will replay this. Why do you say that?
And
we haven't talked about this.
I'm not betting big money, but only a 7-5 odd that Donald Trump will say he doesn't like the rules, because the rules really do favor President Biden. Going to shut off the microphones. Donald Trump is very good at causing chaos and confusion, and that's how he likes to present himself. No, I don't think this is going to happen. I really don't think that he goes for it.
With regard to the debate,
yes,
I think it's very early, and the second one is September 10th.
Right.
Because A, there's early voting now. You can vote by mail. But number two, I think you need a runway to fix any issues that might happen at either one of these debates. Either Donald Trump or Joe Biden could misspeak, and you have plenty of time before Election Day to clear that up.
Well, you do have time. If they do happen, I think that they will both have to really present themselves very well and articulate on the issues, and not be back and forth hitting so hard on each other with negative comments. Right. They're going to have to know their stuff the way the rules are.
We will have to see. All right, time now for one of our regular segments, a commentary from Dr. Bart Rossi we call the Rossi Rant.
And Frank, last week we talked about the psychology of lying. And this week I'd like to talk about the psychology of anger and the anger factor in this election process. Because what I'm thinking about here is that the Democrats, people who are in the Democratic Party, are angry because of mostly because of the abortion situation and the abortion rulings by the Supreme Court. But there's also anger on the other side, because a lot of folks on the other side are angry at the way the country's going in their minds. And they feel that they're angry about democracy and what democracy stands for. For me as a psychologist, this really brings up a lot of problems, because based on what we said last week on lying and the anger factor, I'm wondering if people can really make educated voting decisions. Are we having too many people vote on their anger? Psychologists talk a lot about retained anger. Or are we talking about people voting based on lies? I think we really have to take a look at what's going on in the voting cycle and make a decision based on the facts and not our anger or our lying.
So in other words, will they be voting with their hearts or their minds, logically or emotionally?
That's right.
All right. All right, thank you, Doctor. Climate change, the next battlefield in Florida, even as a report this week shows the Atlantic Ocean is heating up when Power and Politics continues. Welcome back to Power and Politics. I'm Frank Cipolla, joined by political psychologist Dr. Bart Rossi. Governor DeSantis signing a measure this week to roll back climate change legislation and climate change language, despite Florida over the last couple of years seeing record heat, record flooding, rain, and record insurance rates. On top of everything else, a new environmental report shows coral off the coast of Florida dying at an alarming rate, thanks to the warming of the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, so I've often wondered about this. I don't know if we've discussed this privately, so let's do it right here on the big show. What is the psychology behind folks who say that climate change does not exist when it's May in Florida and it was really, really hot. It was almost like August.
Right. Well, Frank, first off, politicians want to pitch to the 20, 30, 35% of the people who do not want to believe in climate change.
But why?
Okay, and the reason is that they know these people form a base in the party, okay? And the people who don't want to believe the science are individuals who feel that this whole thing about climate change is a liberal hoax. It's like a liberal idea, and the media is perpetuating it. And they see it as a political issue, not a scientific issue. And emotionally, they do not want to believe in the science, that there's carbon in the atmosphere. They do not want to believe it, and they feel that they've got an identity by not believing in the truth. Climate change is here, it's real, and most people in Florida believe that. Republicans, Democrats, most people polled agree with that.
I have heard from some people I know that they believe that this is the Earth's cycle. It's warmer, hotter, so on and so forth. And this is just one of these hot phases, for lack of a better description.
They're denying the science by PhDs, doctoral level people who've studied science for hundreds of years, and they could see the amount of carbon in the atmosphere and the change. It's science. It's real science. It's not a projection based on a couple theories. It's real. And the greenhouse gases that are formed, this is not stuff that's made up. It's not a media presentation that's fake news. It isn't.
But if you get rid of the term climate change in the state government, does that make people feel better? I don't understand getting rid of these two words.
What is happening here is what we call on this show often a political stunt. It's a stunt to try to pitch to those 20, 30, 35% of the people who do not believe in the science and they feel that they can get a base, and then the rest of the people can either argue like we are right now, or just kind of go along with it. That's
All right.
what it's all about.
Let's continue in the political vein. I'd like to take a moment to speak about Congressman Byron Donalds from Southwest Florida. He's been chatted up about a possible vice presidential candidate.
Okay.
I don't see this happening. I don't know why he's become the darling in some circles, but you saw him up north during the Trump trial wearing the red tie and the black suit,
Right.
which is the uniform of Donald Trump. Your take on this two-term, semi-popular congressman who has aspirations to be vice president?
Well, he's a congressman in Southwest Florida, in the Naples area, and he's very, very conservative, extremely conservative, behind Trump all the way, does not believe in the election results, and he's someone who I guess the Republican Party believes could be a good face in terms of a VP candidate. But I agree with you. I don't think he has the right stuff to be a VP candidate. I don't think he matches up to what the need is. The need for Donald Trump is to have a woman, and a woman who makes sense on a lot of the issues, including abortion and where women are going in our society. And so in comparison to what's needed, I don't think that Byron Donalds has a shot.
Well, we'll talk about that in just a moment with regard to the women vote, but he is also, Byron Donalds, an African American
Right.
in a segment of the electorate that the president needs, and in some polls is currently leading, so it can't hurt.
Well, that's the thinking, that it can't hurt, but maybe just talking about it might be a positive thing for the Republican Party as well.
Okay, so the big race for Senate, at least in Florida, is between Rick Scott and his challenger, who's Democratic former Congresswoman Debbie Powell. This is a race I think that women are going to decide. She's going to go hard on the abortion rights issue. Look, Rick Scott is probably a nice guy. He seems like a nice guy, but he seems kind of dull.
Rick Scott is the expert on close elections, Frank. He's won 3 elections by a grand total of maybe 5 votes. I'm kidding, of course, but less than 1%,
Right.
almost every time. He's very good at it. He's a very good campaigner, and he feels that he has a base. But I happen to agree with you. I think it's going to be a very close election because Scott is also not so much in favor of Medicare and Social Security.
Right.
He wants to change that. He's in favor of the new abortion law that is very restrictive. I think he's going to have his hands full with the Democratic candidate.
Is this a race, and you mentioned the abortion rights issue, and it's on the ballot as well to modify
Right.
what is currently in place. Do you think this is an issue where women make the difference in this particular race? You have a former Congresswoman running against Rick Scott, who, again, I'm sure is a nice guy. I've never met him, but he seems kind of bland at times, and has talked about sunsetting Social Security and other entitlement programs. Your thoughts?
If she has a winning personality and the traits and characteristics that can carry her to the electorate, she could be a surprise winner down here.
We'll be here. We'll know either way come November. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we see who was up and who was down this week as we present the always popular segment we call Sunshine or Showers, when Power and Politics continues. Welcome back to Power and Politics. The weather can be fickle in the Sunshine State, sunny one day, drenching rain the next. So we have turned this weather pattern toward those in the news with the segment we call Sunshine or Showers. So, Doctor, who is in the sunshine this week?
Well, Frank, I have a good one this week. Dr. Isaacson in Boca Raton. He has a clinic that's dedicated for the prevention of Alzheimer's. And as you know, my whole career has been pretty much based on me being an expert on the Alzheimer's disease process and all of the 7 stages and so forth. And for years, I used to say that there are many environmental factors. It's not just the genetic cause. He absolutely believes that. And his clinic really has some terrific results. And what he's doing is he's focused on diet, reducing stress, the right supplements, the right blood tests for each individual, and doing all of the exercises for healthy mental health and physical health. And he's getting great results to prevent Alzheimer's.
So he's in the sunshine.
He and his clinic,
And
definitely.
we need more men and women of science because they
That's
make
right.
the difference.
And he's an and now, who would you have? Do you have anybody that good? Would you have anybody that good?
I don't know if I have somebody as good as that, but I'm going to put Target stores. They're not a sponsor, but they have lowered the prices on 5,000 of the most popular items. People are out there struggling with inflation.
Right.
They're trying to make ends meet. I mean, it's no secret there. So when a major chain like that steps forward, and I don't think it's a publicity stunt, I actually think they care about their customers, is lowering 5,000 items that are popular, lowering the price. I think it's a tip of the hat to the customer. I hope other retailers do the same, just so we can get through this rough patch. So Target stores in the sunshine for me this
I
week.
like it. It's
All
a
right.
good one. It's
All
a
right.
good one. Okay.
All right, so you know with every sunny day,
yeah.
rain. It's a rainy day. Who is in the showers for you this week?
Frank, I have heavy hurricane rain on this one, okay? And Florida resident Sean Diddy Combs, okay, who said for years he never did anything wrong, never assaulted women. He was always a good guy. The video appears, and he viciously assaulted his former
Well, he has not
girlfriend.
confirmed that that's his video, but go on.
Well, it's pretty obvious that, and he has issued an apology now, saying that he did get mental health treatment, counseling. Of course, before he said that nothing ever happened. Now he apologizes. And I think because of his behavior, he certainly deserves to be in the heavy rain here.
Yeah, in any and every case, domestic violence unacceptable and should be
And
prosecuted
this was,
to the full
this was
extent of it.
apparently brutal.
All right, so he is clearly in the showers.
Yes. Who do you have this week?
Oh, who do I have in the showers? Are you asking that
yeah,
question?
For your
You know,
show.
I have U.S. Florida Senator Rubio, Marco Rubio. You know, they asked him, are you going to accept the 2024 election results? And he says, I don't know if I'm going to accept the results. Hey, Senator, if you're watching, and we're on in Miami, we're also on throughout the state if you happen to be traveling, come back to us, please. I mean, the election results were the election results in 2020. In fact, Governor DeSantis, following 2020, said that he thought the integrity of the election results in Florida were flawless and there were no problems with it. How can you, before the election, place that doubt in people's heads when you know, honestly and truthfully, that it's incorrect? Maybe he wants to be vice president. I don't know. But come on, Senator Rubio, come back to us.
And Frank, there's really no evidence across the country of voter fraud. We have a lot of problems in this country, but voter fraud does not appear to be one of them.
Exactly. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, a commentary by yours truly titled, Let's Be Frank, when Power and Politics continues. Welcome back. This past week, I attended a reunion of the first radio station I worked at, lo those many years ago. I was 21, right out of college, and the station was exactly as you might imagine, small and in a rural part of a northern state. At the reunion, we laughed at all the silly things we did on purpose and by accident, many of them cringeworthy. Looking back, we realized that we thought we knew more about the world when, in fact, we knew little. In short, we were more arrogant than wise. Our brains had not fully developed. I bring this up because we are now seeing young people protesting the events in Gaza as if they know everything. Their enthusiasm, in this reporter's opinion, has garnered outsized media coverage, but their actions don't match the facts on the ground. In fact, I suspect a good number of them have little or no knowledge of the history of the Middle East, but still feel as though they have all the answers, just like me and probably you when we were their age. Is what's going on in Gaza heartbreaking? Of course it is. Should the U.S. and the UN be doing more? Certainly. But who's to say they're not? Diplomacy is conducted via late evening phone calls and clandestine communications which lead to compromise, not bold pronouncements. Who really knows what's going on behind the scenes? But back to the protesters for a moment. In all their anger, they seem to have forgotten how this started. Hamas, the militant group that rules Gaza with an iron fist, subjugates its citizens and marginalizes women, started this war, this conflict, this attack on Israel. That is fact. They took hostages, many of whom are still being held, some of whom likely have been killed. Hamas doesn't tolerate dissent from its citizens and imprisons those who do. These are the people these young protesters are standing shoulder to shoulder with, and in some cases, unbelievably, chanting death to America. Since 1948, Israel has been the only democracy and the only reliable U.S. ally in the Middle East. Its politics are complicated and muddled, but we must not forget that Israel was attacked first by a nation state that has repeatedly and for decades boldly stated that every Jew must die. It seems our young protesters will be facing some cringeworthy moments themselves in the years to come. We'll be right back. That's it for this week's edition of Power and Politics. On behalf of my co-host, political psychologist Dr. Bart Rossi, and the fine folks working behind the scenes, thanks for joining us. As always, we'd like to know what you think. Visit us at powerandpolitics.tv or email us at info@powerandpolitics.tv. We'll see you again a week from now at this time and on this same station. Have a great week.